Hello, my name is Tom Miller. I was the sequence lead on the unfortunately cut sequence of the space battle in Threads of Destiny. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about things going through my head, a little bit of process, and a little bit of just whatever I can come up with as we're walking through this mostly animatic style movie here. Obviously the sequence starts with a very long opening shot. We wanted to sort of pay an homage to Star Wars Episode 3, the prequel version, which also starts with a sort of long drawn-out single shot reveal of a planet, some ships. This is going to be a big space battle, so we wanted a lot of build-up. That's why this first shot was really so long. So, from a process standpoint, the background painting was a matte painting of a planet. It was not 3D at all. It was actually a Photoshop matte painting that was projected onto a sphere. As for some of the software that went into making this, it was pretty much all done in 3D Studio Max. Composited in Nuke with some Flare and Photoshop for texture work and whatnot. Don't have much to say about our pilots here, other than they all did great. Seems like a lot of them die, or would have died, but I guess since the sequence got cut, they all lived, right? So we're sort of building up, sort of to show the two sides that are about to go at it. I guess we're left to draw some conclusions on who would win based on number versus quantity versus the size of the other team's ships. Part of the thing coming up here is a reveal of the massive amount of ships that the Scanvi Empire has. And the way those actually work, those are all particles. Every single one of those little guys is a particle. So I basically had a little set of 3 ships that would sort of animate and sort of float back and forth, and I was able to use that multiple times as particles that later got smart. And I was able to add some behavioral patterns to the particles to make them shoot at each other or blow up randomly. And that shot I think is coming up here pretty soon as everybody's starting to get very excited about the upcoming battle. Once again, those are all particles there. The ships are, anyway, the little ships I should say, not the big guys. At this point everything is a particle, set to shoot and set to blow up randomly. Obviously the hero ships like the Jedi ships and the X-Wings, the focused X-Wings, those are animated by hand. And then another one bites the dust. You'll notice if you pay attention, because there's so many different versions on all the shots that are going on here, you'll notice a really low, poor quality animation. That's the straight up animatic rather. That's what we use to sort of just gauge timing. I would often make those very quickly, send them to Rasmus, and he would send them back with his thoughts. So that's why a lot of these are pretty poor quality. But you'll notice that the planet changes visually several times because there's different sort of stages of done that everything was in. This was being developed right around the time that Episode 3's trailers were starting to come out, and so we wanted to mimic that shot of the sort of like pirate ship, naval vessel cannons shooting at each other. That was a shot that was in, I believe, the trailer, and we thought it was really cool, so we mimicked it. Figured it was a pretty cool one to try to go for. This is a monster of a ship here, and it was going to be interesting to see how this was all going to pan out. There was a lot of time that went into that missile, as you can tell. I think there was a lot of different things we were thinking about doing with the giant beam, whether it was electric or just an ion cannon or whatever it was. It needed to look different. It definitely needed to look like a kind of ship that could blow apart one of those, and I think that was why early on in the space battle you see that happen. Because it seems like the Jedi are winning it first, and then that thing shoots, and things go to all hell. So I think that was a nice balancing factor in really kind of setting a mood of, well, we don't know who's going to win now. So as you're starting to notice, there's different ship types suddenly showing up, and that's a very old version of the animatic where the actual Scanvi ships had a completely different design. And you'll notice that the good ships are actually similar to the ships in Episode 6. I forget what they're called. I'm a horrible Star Wars fan on that number, but they look more like the ships that the Admiral Akbar were in the final space battle in the 6th episode. Those were pretty much placeholder ships in the time being. So eventually the concept art would come out, and then the models would be made, and then they were sent to me, at which point I textured and sort of put everything else together. If you look carefully, that actually is Earth in the background, texture-wise. I hadn't actually made anything in terms of a planet matte painting at the time, so I just kind of threw together whatever I had, and then I had some Earth stuff going on at the time. I was able to use that as the background planet. I believe up here is a pretty cool shot that we were very excited to put in, and had it been done, it would also have been quite a nightmare, but I think it would have been a lot of fun, as they fly up towards a ship that has clearly exploded and debris is just kind of falling towards the planet. I'm not sure if that's actually in this version. If it's not, I hope it is. It may not be. I think it's it right here. Yeah. Now, that is what I call like a half animatic style. I like to throw some particle effects in there for effect just because it was my favorite thing to do. Blow up stuff. And there was definitely no shortage of being able to do that on the space battle, that's for sure. One of the things that Rasmus was really great about was pretty much creative freedom. There was a script, obviously there was a goal and what kind of needed to be done every once in a while, but there was no real shot breakdown. I think there was sort of shot breakdown at a point in time, but it was pretty much left up to me to sort of creatively execute how the shots played out. You know, some of these shots were stuff I made up, but one of them which is coming up a little later, are like direct homages to Star Wars. The one coming up that I'm speaking of is the shot when Han Solo shows up to save Luke's ass on A New Hope, right when he comes out from hyperspace. This is sort of the Luke approaching the Death Star, the exhaust port. That shot back there was. I think it's right after these three guys. There we go. So that's supposed to be sort of the... Take that back, actually. I'm going to go back. I said Han Solo coming out of hyperspace. It really reminds me more of Darth Vader and his two accompanying TIE fighters. If I can go ahead and find that again. When they show up to blow up Luke, or at least try anyway. Raven and his visions. This would have been a very fun sequence right here to do. Very close proximity, very claustrophobic, as Raven sort of uses the Force to get around the ship very closely. And go figure, he makes the shot. And everybody's happy and the ship explodes. I like the idea of having a couple of the ships left over warping away, as I believe it was actually mentioned earlier on in the sequence. I think one of the X-Wing leaders mentioned something about if we destroy the major ship that the rest will flee. So that was pretty much what was going on there. So those that are left are still burning up, but a couple of them run for it here right at the end. Had a lot of fun putting this together. I am sad that I wasn't able to complete it. But at least there were a few sort of finished shots that people can kind of use to get a gauge on what it might have looked like. I hear there's a space battle coming up, perhaps in the next Threads of Destiny. And if we're lucky, maybe I can convince Rasmus to let me try working on it again, and hopefully we can see it through to the end and have a great time. Thanks for listening to me drone on about the space battle, and let's see if when the next Threads of Destiny comes out, you can see some more of my work in it. Thanks for listening. See you guys.